You know what? I do have to say something. I'm about to get out of here and get ready for this very eventful, very impactful, very significant day for the Saitama Wolfpack family and this entire Wolfpack community. I'm excited about this. Believe me, we are continuing to move and continuing to grow. But I have to say something about Russell Armand. I have to. You know, it's amazing. It's rare, honestly. It's rare for somebody in his position. And believe me, I know people with unimaginable wealth, but I wouldn't want to spend 5 minutes with them because their integrity is not in the right place, their character is not in the right place. They step on people, to move to the next level. They do things with kind of a heartless, kind of a careless disposition. However, they've created something that brings them financial wealth and volume, right? Which I never have much respect for. I never did, even when I didn't have any money. Money never moved me. It was always character. Money never moved me. It was always integrity. Because if I ever got to the place, and I said this even when I was broke, but if I ever got to the place to where I was able to achieve wealth, I want to be able to sleep at night. I want to be able to sleep with a clear conscience. I want to be able to know that I made a difference for somebody else's life. It's never my intention to become king. It was always my intention to become a king maker. And in that regard, if we can create an environment and a community and a mindset of individuals that are like that, the world would change. The world would change. At least our world would change. And when I had an opportunity to meet Russ and just the individual that, I've gotten to know, and like I said, when I first came to Saitama, they were, I was by accident for the most part. I just happened to be searching cryptocurrency and looking around, and I just kind of I heard from I think I was on a live or something, and somebody mentioned the word Saitama, right? And just at that moment, I was just curious to learn, and here we are, right? So in that moment, I mean, when you trace the steps back, I see divinity in it. For me, not to get too spiritual, but I see that steps are ordered in that regard. So we're here for a reason, right? But I had the opportunity to meet and connect with Russ, and just talking to him, understanding a little more about being blessed to even be able to connect, right? Because again, I'm just a I know nobody ever knew who I was. I never really introduced myself to anything. I just wanted to connect, and I was able to. But having a conversation with him, and like I said before, well before I got here, I have a very good connection and ability to kind of see people and read people for who they really are, and it doesn't take long. And just in a conversation, I saw a man that had real commitment to a cause, right? And one thing that I do understand as well, I'm always careful of people who are already financially significant, meaning they're already financially solvent in that regard. Because in a lot of cases, sometimes when you kind of get it, when you kind of have it already, sometimes motivations aren't the same. Sometimes inspiration may not even be the same. Right? I know people like that, and it's okay. It's okay. It's no knock against people like that. Sometimes people they gather or they garner what they want to accomplish, hit their goals financially, and they can kind of go off into the sunset and not really having to care about anything else around them other than what they're successful in. But when I met Russ, I realized very quickly that that's not the kind of guy he is, right? Which I always admire. I always respect that, right? And so that's what kind of helped me to connect even a little deeper. And then I saw a guy who not only was committed, right? Committed to the cause, but he's really committed to the heart of the people, which is amazing to me because there are people who are in his situation that doesn't have to care. Not like that. I don't mean like a bad person. I mean they don't have to deal with stress. They don't have to deal with FUD, as we call it. They don't have to deal with it. I mean, I can pack up and leave anytime. Don't have to. But the fact that it actually matters, these 260 plus thousand people, their dreams matter, their hopes matter, their vision matters. And the fact basically that he's at the helm of this. The weight of that, the levity of that. There's a quote, there's a saying that's out, and I heard this and it makes all the sense in the world to me. But the quote is, heavy is the head that wears the crown. So most people look at it and like, wow, what a great position to be at that, and to be. It's amazing how everybody loves the glory. And I had this conversation with him. Everybody loves the glory, right? But here's the problem with that. The problem is when things go well in that position, you get glorified. But if things don't go quite well, you get crucified, which isn't fair. It's not fair to an individual. It's not fair to an individual's family. But imagine someone who's willing to accept that. Just think about that for a minute. Someone who's willing to accept that fact, that doesn't have to accept that fact. When things go well, you're glorified. When things don't go well, you're crucified. Who steps into that ring? Just like Javante Davis today. I have much respect for fighters, man. I do. I have much respect. Can you imagine walking into the ring, like what that must feel like, knowing that there's another human being to where their only objective is to tear your head off, and you continue to walk down that ring? To me, I'm kind of going the other way. I'll fight if I have to, but if I don't have to, I'm gonna leave you alone. But you look at somebody who's willing to step in that ring, who's willing to walk in that ring and know already that punches are going to be thrown with vicious intent, but you still decide to climb in that ring. And guess what? When life throws punches at you, guess what you do? You don't sit there and take them, you punch back. And that's what we have in our leadership with Russ, the dev team. And I say Russ often because that's who I connect with. I mean, that's who I speak with all the time. That's who, is willing to give me, the time to connect, and just a genuine good person. I mean, a lot of times you see people, and I'm careful of this. I watch this, and trust me, I know this. I know people who only show up for picture day. If you can read and understand what that means that only when there's something good to happen, that's when you see them. I know people who are like that, right? Nothing wrong with it, but I just know people who are like that. But I tend to gravitate more to people that without the cameras flashing, without the cameras rolling, these people are in the trenches working. Without the cameras rolling, these people are in the situation to where they're dealing with the emotions of just, you want things to go right, but it's just not quite yet. You want things to be perfect because you know what the expectations are, but it's just not quite there yet, right? Can you imagine dealing with that when there's no cameras around? Dealing with that when there's no one looking, right? There's no one to perform for. And I was told this a long time ago, and I'm always conscious of this as well. The difference between, reputation and character, right? There's a difference. Reputation and character. Reputation is who people think you are. That's when everybody is watching. But character is who you really are. That's when no one's around. What do you do when no one's watching? How do you interact with people when there's no one around? How do you treat people when there's no one around? Do you really care? Character is when no one is watching. That's who you really are. Reputation is just who people think you are. It's perception. And I just say this, and I want to leave you with this. I just say this. Sometimes we have to be careful, very careful, when you're not in a position of tremendous. Imagine what that would feel like to carry the weight, the opinions, the ideals, the attitudes of over 250,000 people. Can you imagine what that feels like? Can you imagine carrying that around? Some of us are flustered with just the 2 or 3 kids we got. Can you imagine having to carry 260 plus thousand people, their mindsets, their attitudes, their situations? Good God. When I look at Russ, honestly, when I look at Russ, I got to appreciate that guy, right? That man is a married man. He's got kids, he's got his own situation. They've come through things and built things together. And, that's an amazing situation. And I say that because in a position like that, who has to deal with FUD in the pure sense of the word? Nobody in that situation has to deal with it. So the fact that you have somebody and a development team that's willing to fight through, willing to commit to the top, I hope that all of us take a moment to just show appreciation. Yeah, I know you get it, and eh, if everything isn't said quite perfectly the way you want it, or done quite perfectly the way you want it, because nothing is, nothing. Hey, life is hard. Life itself is hard, right? I mean, crap, marriage is hard. Marriage is hard, but so is divorce. But choose your heart, right? Financial security, to build it, it's hard, right? But so is being broke. So choose your heart. Hey, how about this? Being After all that food I've been eating all week since I've been here, being in shape is hard. It's hard, but so is being unhealthy. So choose your heart. Working out is hard, but so is the effects of not working out. So choose your heart. Choose it. So in this whole regard, with where we are with Saitama, with where we are in every capacity, recognize there's somebody behind the wheel. There's somebody behind the wheel that's going for it. So I would just say, appreciate leadership. Appreciate what's represented in leadership, because there is a real committed individual, as well as the dev team, but there's a real committed individual that's out here every day fighting, pushing, driving, working in every capacity just to make a difference for everybody, right? So I want everybody to just, take a moment, send a good message, send a kind message, send an encouraging word. Not so quick to criticize, because unless you've held this level of responsibility, you could never know what that feels like. So instead of criticizing, or instead of punching holes in situations, send love, appreciate, recognize, and commit. And let's work together to make this happen, because we can do it. We got it. We have all the elements of success all in our hand right now. What do we do with it? And I'll leave it in your hand. I love everybody.